Welcome to MNN, the Misandry News Network, with your hosts, Manny Ginatun and Barbara Barnyard Animal.
There was a fatal bus crash today, killing 10 women and 4 children. There were some other deaths as well. Feminists have blamed the patriarchy because the driver was a man. But when it was pointed out to them that the driver was in fact a woman, they said that patriarchy was still to blame and yelled something incoherently about rape.
That's terrible, Manny. All those women and children dying like that.
Yes, the patriarchy is truly evil. What else is in the news, Barbara?
A new study shows that 7% of all workplace deaths are female.
That's terrible, Barbara.
Politician Clive Scumbag Jones said today that we need to lower female deaths in the workplace by offering them more money to do less dangerous types of work, while at the same time forcing non-females into dangerous employment.
Clearly he does not know what he is talking about because he is a white male.
This time he does, despite his gender handicap.
A woman must have told him what to say.
Obviously.
In other news, every war ever in the history of the world was started by men.
Obviously women would never do anything like that.
No, never.
A new study showed today that the average American woman will be raped 3 times, while hearing rape statistics, during her lifetime.
In other rape-related news, a female protester was seen topless walking down the main street of the city today. She was raped by the men staring at her breasts. 5 men were arrested, including a blind man and his seeing-eye dog.
Just because you are blind does not mean you can't rape someone with your eyes.
Very true.
A protest was held today by non-females advocating for rights for non-females. We are not going to talk about their issues, but it's only fair that we point out that they are probably rapists trying to take away the rights of women. Now for an ad break. Welcome to the SCAMOLI system of gender studies. We offer such subjects as inventing rape statistics. All men are rapists, even those who aren't. White male bashing made easy. Victimhood for beginners. Equality through inequality. And many more. And in no time you can be a fully qualified gender engineer. Be smart about not being smart and do it the SCAMOLI way.
Welcome back. Before we go on, I would just like to point out that I am sorry for being born white, male, and probably cisgendered, and I know that any form of heterosexual sex I perform with a woman is clearly an evil colonization of her body with my masculinity.
I do not think there is much chance of you having sex with a woman anyway, Manny. In other news, the patriarchy is responsible for repressing women everywhere, and white Western women have it harder than African slaves did 150 years ago.
Speaking of slavery, a social justice warrior group protested a chain of supermarkets today because the white milk was put on the top shelf and the chocolate milk on the bottom.
That racism makes me sick.
Spokesperson for the group, Janice Funcunt, said that it's time we ended racist oppression in dairy products. She went on to say, dairy companies should add rainbow coloring to their white milk to make it less racist and more gay tolerant, and that the dairy industry is promoting rape culture.
So very true. And that's all for tonight, folks. I am Barbara Barnyard Animal and he is Manny Ginatun, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Good night.
may be hard to tell by watching this show where time is divvied up evenly, and we, or at least I, fully respect everyone else's opinions. But out there in the real world, things are not quite always fair, because as our next guest says, there is a war against boys going on right now. That's right, Crystal. She says schools are becoming risk-averse, feeling-centric, and competition-free. And as they do that, they're further isolating and stigmatizing young boys for being young boys. Now, I'm sure some people, potentially people at this very desk, will point out the huge wage gap and the CEO percentages and say it seems that men are doing just fine. Well, our next guest has a response for that, too. Here with us is Christina Hoff-Sommers, a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute and the author of The War Against Boys, How Misguided Policies Are Harming Our Young Men. Christina, you point out rough and tumble play, which boys love, which is more and more being sort of pushed aside in schools and outlawed in schools. That's intrinsic to young boyness. How is it beneficial to boys to be able to engage in that rough and tumble play?
Rough and tumble play, it's the natural play of little boys everywhere. Girls like it too, but boys do it much more. And increasingly, our schools are failing to make a distinction between aggression and high-spirited play. And so little boys, almost the day they enter school, exist in a kind of milieu of disapproval. And it's very sad, because education has never been more important to a young person's prospects. And today, girls are so much stronger educationally, and boys are languishing.
Well, Christina, let's talk about these little boys, because as you point out, boys are 4.5 times more likely to be suspended, which obviously lowers their chances of graduation from high school by 17%. And you say this is in part because of the zero tolerance policy and the lack of research. And this starts at an early age, at even kindergarten, where they're getting graded on how they act. So right. I guess I'm just wondering, is this just boys behaving badly, as we know they do, or is this really about stricter policies in place?
I think it's about sort of pathologizing normal behavior. I mean, take something like playing tag. This has been outlawed in many schools, or dodgeball, or there are schools that say we should change tug of war to tug of peace. Well, little boys don't take that well to these changes, and they, as I said, their natural play is that high-spirited sort of mock fighting. This is disallowed, but this is what's worse. In their imaginative writing, and their narrative play, little boys in preschool and kindergarten will engage in fantasy play with superheroes and rescuing good guys and killing bad guys. There are many schools where this is forbidden, and they're punished and even suspended. So that's what I mean when they exist sort of under a cloud of disapproval.
Well, Christina, what of the statistics, though? Because as Tori was referencing, we know 4% Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Women still earn only 81% of what men make up 18% of the U.S. House of Representatives, on and on and on. Right. So the men still seem to be doing pretty well. Are we actually seeing that the tug of peace is really, damaging men for the long term?
You have to look at the world today. And where are these boys going to be in 10, 15, 20 years? It has never been more important, as I said, to get a good education. Girls are getting it. Boys are increasingly are not. And I don't think anyone thinks we're going to close the wage gap by ignoring the literacy needs of little boys. And the other thing to remember is there's a small coterie of very successful men at the high echelons of achievement. But at the extreme of failure, you also find more men, in fact, vastly more men. So you have to look at the total picture. And when you do that, you see that for young men, it's very dangerous for many of them to be disaffected from school, disengaged. And we have ways to help them. And other countries are way ahead of us in addressing the needs of boys, and we have to catch up.
So we haven't seen the effects totally yet. What you're hypothesizing is that the boys that are in school now may suffer down the road.
Yes, but I think even now, if you look at college graduates, you'll see younger women. If you do controls for younger women and younger men, the wage gap is closed, and in some studies it shows young women are earning more.
Until they have children.
Yes. But again, do you want to neglect the literacy needs of boys? Do you want to punish boys because women are staying home with children? I mean, we have to be rational about it, and we have to be fair. And I became a feminist in the 70s because I didn't like male chauvinism. But what I see now is a kind of reverse, a kind of intolerance for boys, and a kind of female chauvinism, if you will. Like all the programs in the schools, well, I don't want to say all, but many, that are there to strengthen girls in math and science. And I applaud those. Those were effective. But where are the programs to strengthen boys in reading and writing, to close the college attendance gap, the school engagement gap? We don't have them.
All right. I see some of what you're saying, but I don't think the patriarchy, sadly, is actually under threat. Christina, thank you very much.